There was a call. One phone call. That's all it took.
Mr. Pennyworth, there's been an incident.
One phone call, and our lives were changed.
Alfred quickly suits up and starts running, realizing that everything will change from this day forward. Because today is the day Thomas and Martha Wayne, Bruce's parents, have been killed. When Alfred arrives at the scene, a police officer asks him to identify the victims. However, Alfred responds that both are among the city's most prominent figures and can be identified by someone else, as he has a greater responsibility to attend to.
I'll leave the lights on tonight.
When they get back home, Bruce tells Alfred that without his parents, the mansion feels so big and empty. But Alfred assures him that the mansion will never be empty because he will never leave Bruce alone. And that's when we return to the present day, where we see Alfred in bed receiving a different kind of phone call.
Alfred, are you there? Alfred?
I'm right here, sir.
Were you asleep?
It's 3 a.m., Master Bruce. Why would I be asleep?
And that's when we see Batman trying to steer a Predator drone away from the city. When he's done, Alfred asks if maybe tonight Bruce will spend the night at the mansion, but Bruce responds that he won't. Alfred jokingly says he ate the mint he left on Bruce's pillow, since Bruce never uses his bed for sleeping, and reminds him that he needs rest because he's fighting off the flu. Batman, however, ignores him and tells Alfred to prepare the Batwing.
Why put your own life aside? Why do you look after him, Alfred? Because he needs me to. He's Batman, and the world is relying on him. He doesn't have time to check his pockets for his wallet and his keys. He doesn't have time for the trivial, and he's so focused on saving everyone else, he forgets himself. He needs someone to remember.
Batman returns home and tells Alfred about a man who has begun terrorizing Gotham with aerial attacks. He explains that the man calls himself the Drone, and became vengeful after discovering that one of his former bosses ordered him to bomb a civilian market, resulting in the deaths of 30 people. Now, the Drone is targeting Gotham to send a message to his former employers, vowing that they will feel the pain and suffering experienced by the civilians they harmed. Because all the workers, designers, and manufacturers all live in Gotham, meaning any building could be a potential target. Before Alfred can say a word, Bruce acknowledges that he knows he needs to rest, but insists he'll sleep only after stopping the drone, as he refuses to let anyone die. Alfred nods in understanding and mentions that he's prepared some soup. When Bruce skeptically asks how he's supposed to eat soup in a jet, Alfred explains that he anticipated this and poured it into a flask.
And every time he leaves, I prepare for his return. I try to anticipate his needs. I prepare for his return, or I wait for the call that tells me he's all right, or the other one.
While we see Batman trying to shoot down one of Drone Man's machines, Alfred tells us how every time Gotham is threatened, Batman sees it as his responsibility, and how whenever something bad happens to Gotham, he sees it as his failure.
Alfred, notify emergency services. Explosion at Barlow Street between 11th and 12th.
Batman starts looking for casualties, but notices that the building is abandoned. Not understanding why the Drone Man would attack an empty building, Batman spots a man lying there and goes to help him.
Can you hear me?
He notices an injured man and tells him that he's going to get him out of there. However, when he again asks Alfred why the drone attacked this building specifically, the injured man suddenly... And it's the drone who tells Batman that he has to kill him. Batman quickly overpowers him, restrains him, and calls the police. When they arrive, he swiftly escapes, but that's when...
Alfred.
Sir, are you done for the evening?
Alfred, I need a pickup.
Alfred starts running, grabs one of the masks, and heads to the Batmobile. But that's when we see Batman already surrounded by thugs, until...
Were you truly planning on mugging Batman?
He starts scolding the criminals, saying that after Batman has done so much for the city and saved its people so many times, they still try to hurt him.
Gentlemen, I suggest you change careers.
Alfred picks up Batman and places him in the car, but then notices that Bruce is losing far too much blood. He instructs the car to auto-drive to Leslie Tompkins' house, reclines the seat, and starts administering a blood transfusion.
Batman, it's Alfred! Code
Leslie and Alfred quickly get Batman into her house, and soon after,
It's okay, Alfred. He's stable.
Leslie notices Alfred's black eye and examines it, remarking that the circles around his eyes are so dark it's hard to tell where the bruise begins. She asks him when he last got at least 8 hours of sleep, and Alfred replies that he sleeps when he can, when he knows Batman is safe.
Every time I walk through Gotham, I see people with family, with friends, with lives. People who wouldn't be here without him.
And he couldn't do it without you.
He could, but it would be harder.
Hours later, Bruce wakes up. Leslie instructs him to be quiet and explains that Alfred needs rest because it's clear he's incredibly exhausted. She adds that he too must rest tomorrow, as Alfred won't be able to relax otherwise. The next morning, Alfred wakes up in a panic, afraid he missed something. That's when Bruce steps in and tells him that he took his communicator and phone because he wants Alfred to rest today. However, as Bruce is about to leave, Alfred explains that he can't stay in bed knowing Bruce might be in trouble.
If you expect me to stay in bed not knowing if you're...
I'm not going.
What?
I realize you can't relax if I'm out there.
He also tells him that he's not very mobile after the injury, so he will have others patrol the city today.
I didn't want you to have to worry today.
Really? And why is today so special?
Get some rest, Alfred.
If you think being Batman is fun, wait until you hear this. Because sleepless nights, constant stress, grueling daily workouts, and injuries that barely heal are all part of Batman's life. For example, we witness the daily struggles of being Batman in the comic book Batman: The Three Jokers. Batman is depicted bleeding from a wound as he returns to his cave, where Alfred meets him. Alfred then takes scissors, cuts his suit, and poses a question that he often asks.
What was it this time?
An umbrella.
And that's when we see Batman's battle scars. A broken back from Bane, burn marks from fighting the Riddler, claw scars from Catwoman, bite punctures from Killer Croc, and also stab wounds, gunshot marks, acid burns, and so on. On top of that, Alfred is the only one responsible for treating Bruce's wounds to avoid revealing his secret identity. However, whenever Bruce does seek medical attention at the hospital, he consistently surprises doctors because,
Frankly, Mr. Wayne, I'm not entirely sure how your body has managed to cope with all this for so long. Just at a glance, I'm counting at least 24 serious bone fractures, half of which haven't healed correctly. And then there is your medical history. How your body isn't just falling apart is beyond me.
Bruce reflects on the scars covering his body, but realizes that even after all these scars, the wound etched in his memory is still the one that hurts the most. In order to consistently combat evil, it's essential to maintain peak physical fitness. That's why in the Batman files we can find his workout plan and diet. Batman workouts daily, and his workouts include running, meditation, punching bag, bouldering, swimming. Also, he achieves impressive feats of strength, such as deadlifting 620 pounds, squatting 5 and 25 pounds, clean and jerk lifting 262 pounds. Additionally, he maintains remarkable endurance, running 20 miles at a pace of 450 per mile. Now you might be wondering, so when does Batman sleep? In the comic book Batman issue 655, we can see his full schedule, which explains that Batman wakes up at 3 p.m., works out at 5, eats at 7, and starts to get ready for the night at 9 p.m. And since sleep is one of the most crucial parts of maintaining good health, Batman also learned to...
Sir, the way you're punishing yourself, you'll be dead in 6 months.
Alfred, please. Regular problem-solving micro-sleeps are all I need. Okay, back to work.
So after facing all that stress, enduring injuries, undergoing grueling workouts, dealing with fear, and managing a demanding schedule, would you agree that being Batman seems quite challenging?
I no longer fear trying something new. I may have been created in the dark,
see Bane, clearly older and covered in injuries, sitting in a locker room. You see Bane is now a professional wrestler, and just minutes ago, he was wrestling a guy dressed as Batman. As he wrestled, he remembered his past, growing up in a prison, committing all kinds of crimes. But when he grabs the wrestler and lifts him up, he thinks back to one of his greatest feats, breaking the bat. He steps on him, and the bell begins to ring. As the crowd goes crazy, we see the wrestler telling the referee that he can't feel his legs. But as Bane raises his championship belt above his head, the crowd erupts, shouting wildly. As Bane returns to the locker room, a man tells him he's never heard a crowd roar that loudly before, and that's when we see that it's the wrestler who had been dressed as Batman. Bane compliments him on how convincingly he sold the injury in the ring and tells him it was an honor to wrestle with him. He then leaves the building, and we see a long line of fans waiting for autographs. His promoter hands him extra money for today's work and tells him that a group of women are waiting for him. But Bane looks at them, says, "Maybe not today," and gets into his car. He goes home, takes a shower, and grabs a book. As he walks through his rooms, we see shelves full of awards and memorabilia from his past. But when he finally sits down, it becomes clear which memory Bane holds closest to his heart. The memory of him breaking the bat. As he looks at it, he smiles, but the smile quickly fades as he realizes it's all in the past. But then a mysterious man steps into the room. Bane looks at him, grabs him, and begins to scream, demanding to know how he dared invade his home. Wait! The man reaches into his bag and takes something out, and that's when we see that it's
Venom. Impossible. How?
Bane is shocked as the man explains that a new laboratory in Texas has begun producing it again. He tells Bane that he stole the sample because he heard Bane would pay a huge amount of money for it. As Bane looks at it, memories of his prime flood back, days when everyone feared him. But after staring at it, he drops it into the fireplace. The man gets furious, screaming at him, but Bane grabs him again and tells him to show him the laboratory. He warns him that if he doesn't agree, he's going to die. And after Bane drops him,
"So it's true then. The legends about you. It's not just some wrestling act. You really are Bane. You beat Batman. You broke the bat."
I did more than that. I killed Batman.
and that's when we find out how Batman died. You see, years ago, Batman was trying to destroy every trace of Venom, believing it was too dangerous. But when he broke into one of the laboratories, he found Bane there, doing the exact same thing. Realizing how deadly Venom truly was, Bane asked Batman to set aside their past for a moment and make a truce, but Batman refused. So Bane tried again, telling him that once all the Venom was destroyed, they would have their final fight.
And he said yes?
The Bat knew he needed me. Even though his hate for me burned bright, we worked together to find every drop of Venom in the world.
Bane then asks the guy, what did he do to get into the business? And he explains that he was born into it, telling him that after his dad got into a huge debt, he did everything to repay it, telling him that this was the reason why he tried selling Venom to Bane. But that's when the guy interrupts him and asks him to finish the story with Batman. And Bane once again begins telling him how they started to work together, how they never really spoke to each other, but understood one another perfectly in silence. But as they worked together, Bane explains that, like always, his journey with Batman led him back to
Gotham.
Bane and Batman find a huge batch of Venom, but that's when they hear heavy footsteps coming their way. When they turn, they see a monster named Grudge, who with a single touch can infect a person with massive doses of venom. Grudge starts speaking to them, saying that being unbelievably strong is the only way to survive in this world. Then he begins touching prisoners nearby, and they start transforming, becoming venom-infused monsters. As Bane and the man get closer and closer to the laboratory, Bane continues his story, explaining how difficult it was to fight Grudge, since getting anywhere near him meant risking infection by venom. But after they dealt with his army, Bane says they ended up on a rooftop with Grudge, and
Batman, we are out of time!
Bane grabs the electromagnetic pulse device that was supposed to knock out Grudge, but before he can use it,
Bane! Activate the EMP!
as the venom spreads through Batman's bloodstream, Bane begins to scream that if he uses it, Batman might die. But Batman just looks at him and yells for him to go. So Bane presses the button and...
No way. Batman died saving you?
That is why I must know who continues to produce venom to stop them, to honor Batman's sacrifice.
A group of men discover the intruders and hit Bane from behind, knocking him out. And as he fades, he remembers his mother. She hugs him and tells him how proud she is of what he has become after everything he endured being born in the dark. Bane wakes up and starts searching for the man he came with, but a group of men tell him he's already been taken care of. They explain that they deliberately let him steal from them, hoping he would lead Bane directly to them. As they continue punching him, they insult him, calling him weak and mocking his wrestling career. They then tell him that their master is waiting for him, but suddenly Bane starts to laugh. He breaks free from the chair with ease and begins to fight them, but gets stabbed in the process. Before destroying everyone in the room, he then starts searching for the man they call Master. The voice follows him through the speakers, telling Bane that he's a big... And when Bane finally reaches the room, we realize that it's... Dr. Randolph Porter, better known as the creator of Venom and the father of Sissy Porter, the girl Batman once failed to save because he was too weak. The girl whose death is what led Batman to use Venom and eventually become addicted to it. The doctor tells Bane how he faked his death and continued working on his drug, but explains that his body finally took a toll and that he's dying. He says this is the reason he wanted to meet Bane, the ultimate result of his genius. Bane tells him that he had already worked on his body long before he ever took Venom, and says that if the doctor wants to die, Bane will grant his wish. The doctor then reveals the same man Bane arrived with and says that he will use him as his final test subject, injecting him with every version of Venom he ever created.
Bane? What's he talking about?
The doctor steps closer to Bane, trying to convince him to use Venom again. He reminds Bane of his glorious past and tells him that he wants to give him a second chance at life, telling him that he wants to experiment on him and perhaps even cure death itself. But Bane starts fighting him. The doctor asks why he keeps trying to protect and free the boy, and Bane tells him that there was no one to protect him when he was weak and young. And as he frees him, he instructs the boy to run. But that's when the doctor manages to grab Bane and breaks his back. As Bane lies there, Randolph grabs a jar of newly created Venom, telling him that this version will not only give strength, but also restore the mind and make him peak again. He then offers it to the boy, but Bane starts screaming for him to stop. The boy